Okay, so I'm on to part three now, and what I want to say here is that a little bit of foresight goes a long way. I know it might be hard to imagine where you're going to be 20, 30 years from now, but if you plan right today, you could significantly reduce your deterioration over time. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the US, and it's mostly a result of obesity or being overweight. There's also osteoporosis, osteopenia, debilitating diseases that deteriorate your bone density. But through proper nutrition, it can be prevented, managed, and even reversed. So perhaps the biggest benefit is just overall mental health, and making physical progress always results in an elevation of your mood, and it's been also shown to be at least as effective as prescription medication as far as anxiety and depression related conditions. So, what I'm going to get into now is something called the halo effect. It's kind of an interesting theory. Basically, what it says is that based on a first impression, if you have a good first impression on someone, that person is going to continue to look for positive traits in you, and they'll be less likely to acknowledge the negative. And the contrary is true too. If you give someone a bad first impression, they're going to look for bad traits in your behavior and kind of ignore the positive ones. And the overwhelming contributor to a first impression is physical appearance, which they say is 20% genetic and 80% nutrition, exercise. I don't know how they study and find that number, but that's what I have here. And even totally knowing that theory's influence, it's not going to affect the way you act. Just because you know that theory doesn't mean that you're going to suddenly have equal interpretations of people regardless of how they look. So, making healthy lifestyle changes will inadvertently make others more likely to trust you and directly help you, whether financially, romantically, or as a role model. I'm going to make a comparison here to fitness and religion. Within it, there are many different ideas, groups, and conflicting beliefs, and many swearing that only one is the right path. But at the same time, there's a tolerant minority within that group that acknowledge that there are many different paths to achieve the same goal. So in our case, it's best to learn the most effective techniques and why they work, because simplicity is really essential here. You want the most output for the least amount of input, so the most results for the least amount of lifestyle changes. And going on with this idea, it raises the question, why are people fat? Well, the heart of it is really overabundance, with tons of different brands each competing to have you buy their product. It becomes almost impossible to distinguish the good stuff from the bad stuff, much like trying to determine a good workout regimen from a poor workout regimen. And as a result, smart eating loses to instant gratification. Evolution kind of dictates that satisfying immediate needs will, like, food, water, shelter, that's going to reward you with the simple but generous gift of survival. But now you could get any food you want kind of at a moment's notice. We don't really have to perform physical tasks if we don't want to, like driving long distances. It doesn't require any real physical activity. And that's where selfishness comes into play. People who choose to work hard are really only doing so for their own vanity or longevity, but at the same time, it's not like it's philanthropic to, you know, binge eat and not exercise. So rather than condemn your innate desire for instant satisfaction, you just have to find a way to appropriately harness it towards your own benefit. And I'm going to pause there, and then I'll continue a little bit more in the next video.